应该是看麻烦。
男人不上班不挣钱，连狗都嫌，在家做家务有什么用？
A wife complains, the man doesn't go to work, doesn't make money, even the dog hates him. What's the point of him staying home doing housework? This incident happened in an ordinary family in Hubei. The husband was cleaning the house when his wife couldn't help but complain. The husband was cleaning the house with great care, sweeping the floor until it was spotless. When mopping, he even used a towel to scrub the floor by hand, ensuring that every corner was clean and tidy. The home became pristine. If the wife had done these chores, the husband might have praised her for doing a good job. However, when it was the husband doing them, the result was completely different. The wife, dissatisfied, said that if a man doesn't earn money, it doesn't matter how clean the house is. The implication was that she hoped her husband would go out and work to earn some money. Actually, the husband used to work as a welder, a job that paid fairly well, but it had a major drawback: it was unstable. Sometimes, when work was busy, he might be occupied for half a month, while during slow periods, he could be idle for more than 10 days. Now, due to the economic downturn, he has been out of work and has no choice but to stay at home. In order to avoid upsetting his wife, he voluntarily does housework and even cooks dishes that his wife loves, fearing that his unemployment might anger her. His wife has suggested that he take a factory job, even though it is more labor-intensive and the pay is lower. At least with a factory job, there would be steady work every day, and the income would be more stable. However, the husband insisted that factory work is not flexible and that the fixed salary would not make as much as he could earn from freelance jobs. Additionally, he doesn't smoke, drink, or like a fixed routine, so he is unwilling to listen to his wife's advice. The wife, however, has her own struggles. Every month, the mortgage alone costs 5,000 yuan, while her husband stays at home doing housework that doesn't contribute to any financial gain. She feels that this lifestyle will never lead to financial prosperity for the family. She desperately hopes her husband can do something, like other men, and work part-time, deliver food, or drive for a ride-hailing service, at least to ease some of the financial burden. After all, it can't be just the woman who works to support the family, can it? Both of them have valid points, but no matter what, a married couple should support and understand each other. So, what's your opinion on this matter?
我老婆最接受不了我的点就是不上进。
One of the things my wife cannot tolerate about me is my lack of ambition. For men who don't make money and aren't driven, women almost always look down on them after marriage. This doesn't just apply to women. People who lack ambition are often disliked by everyone around them. If parents are unambitious, their children will resent them. If husbands are unambitious, their wives will resent them. If wives are unambitious, their husbands will resent them. Actually, being ambitious doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a lot of money. In fact, my wife has never said that I must be exceptionally successful. However, she hopes to see that I have the will to make an effort, to be willing to make changes for the future, and to strive to become better. As long as I show this attitude, she will feel satisfied.
我老公失业之后，我主动提了离婚。
After my husband lost his job, I ultimately chose to initiate the divorce. At first, I wondered if I was being too melodramatic. After all, my husband lost his job, and the family's financial pressure increased, so perhaps I should have been more understanding. However, later I realized that 3 of my close friends were also on the brink of divorce because their husbands had lost their jobs. This made me start rethinking the issue. What I don't understand is why, once a man loses his job, he feels that the person who looks down on him the most is his wife. My husband is in his 40s. He had been working at a building materials company, and his position was quite decent. But last year, around May and June, due to the overall downturn in the industry and his relatively older age, he was eventually laid off. At first, in order not to worry me, he kept it a secret. Every day he would say he was going out for business, but in reality, he was just meeting friends for tea and chatting, wasting time. This went on for 2 or 3 months until he felt he could no longer hide it and finally told me the truth. To be honest, at that time, I didn't think it was a big deal. He lost his job, so finding a new one would be fine, right? I even comforted him and told him not to worry too much. However, in the following months, not only did he not look for a new job, but he also started idling away his time, or spending all day at home playing video games. As time passed, our life became more and more strained, and we became more and more restricted. Honestly, I could no longer tolerate him, and I even began to avoid him. We would frequently argue over trivial matters, and our relationship became more and more tense. I couldn't take it anymore, so I ultimately initiated the divorce. Then he said to me, "If a man loses his ability to earn money, does that mean he is no longer worth keeping by his wife's side? You always say, couples are like birds of a feather, sticking together in tough times, but now society has become too realistic. Without money, how can we live?" Reality is indeed harsh, and family life is no exception.
态度完全变了。以前有工作时候，每天回家还有口饭吃。
Ever since I lost my job, my wife's attitude towards me has changed drastically. When I had a job, I could come home every day to a hot meal, and when I talked to her, she was relatively gentle. However, now that I am unemployed and staying at home, my wife has become indifferent to me. Not only does she no longer cook for me, but she also completely ignores me. Whenever she has free time, she just lies in bed, playing on her phone and watching dramas to pass the time. The day before yesterday, she cooked lunch for me, and while I was eating, she suddenly yelled at me. But I didn't say anything. I just silently ate the meal with tears in my eyes. My life has become extremely burdensome now. Every day, besides dealing with my own matters, I also have to take on all the household chores: cooking, washing dishes, picking up and dropping off our child, and tutoring homework. To be honest, my time is barely enough. Not only do I have to think about how to make money to support the family, but I also have to handle all these trivial household matters. Gradually, I feel utterly exhausted, as if no matter how much I do, no matter how busy I get, I can never earn her recognition. The moment I stop making money in her eyes, I become someone who is simply wasting time. She constantly criticizes me. She keeps telling me that I haven't made any money, and constantly pours cold water on me. Later, I started doing some part-time food deliveries, and occasionally, when I had some income, her attitude improved slightly. But she still likes to put me down. Now I have to cook for myself for every meal, or else I will go hungry. A few days ago, she was cooking in the kitchen and called me over to eat. When I walked into the kitchen, I saw that there was no rice in the rice cooker. She was cooking noodles, but just a tiny portion. At first, I thought she was asking me to eat noodles too, so I suggested that she cook a bit more since the portion was too small for 2 people. But she suddenly snapped at me and started shouting. "What are you pretending for? Are you blind? Can't you see?" I was startled by her loud voice. At that moment I didn't respond. I just silently walked away to find something else to eat, but I felt incredibly sad inside. Later, I discovered that my wife was actually steaming the leftover rice and dishes from the previous day in a small electric steamer. That was when I finally understood. She wanted me to eat the leftovers while she ate noodles. To be honest, I hadn't even noticed before. I had just assumed that we were both eating noodles, which was why I suggested cooking a bit more. After that, I didn't say a single word. I simply took the leftovers and ate them outside, but she kept complaining the whole time. "Why are you pretending every day? I cook for you, and you're still being picky. You can't even make money, so from now on, cook for yourself." I didn't say anything. Suddenly, tears started rolling down my face uncontrollably. After finishing my meal, I went back to my room alone and continued looking at job postings online, my heart filled with grievance and sorrow. Now, I search for jobs every day. In my spare time, I do some food deliveries. Even though the income isn't much, at least it's something. Recently, I've been feeling deeply sad and wronged. I can't help but ask, once a man loses his job, stops making money, and can no longer provide happiness to a woman, does he really get treated differently? Are women really this pragmatic?
就在一个家庭当中，一个男人最大的魅力就是他的事业。
The greatest charm of a man in a family often lies in his career. You can give it a try. If a man in a family encounters problems in his career, for example, if he becomes unemployed and stays at home for 2 years, then you can give it a try. This family will 100% experience all kinds of conflicts, arguments, and disputes. The wife will start looking down on him more and more, and the mother-in-law will also have opinions. Why? Because he earns nothing, he is completely unemployed, right? Just imagine, if a man loses his job and chooses to stay at home as a stay-at-home dad, spending his days in the kitchen, wearing an apron, and doing housework, then his family status will rapidly decline, and he may even completely lose it. This is the most fatal blow. If a man has no job in a family and loses his career, he also loses his channel for socialization. His masculinity will gradually be worn away. Think about it. Anyone who remains unemployed for a long time must have some issues with his abilities. Otherwise, how could he be unable to find a job for so long? Therefore, a man must have his own channel for socialization. What does socialization mean? It means he needs to be exposed to new things and new people every day. He needs colleagues, he needs friends, and he needs a normal social circle. Otherwise, conflicts between husband and wife will inevitably arise. Therefore, a man must have his own career. His career is not just a tool for making money, but also an essential channel for his socialization. If he has no job, his connection to society will be cut off, which will eventually affect his family relationships as well. Simply put, everyone needs a way to stay connected with society. So, how can an unemployed man maintain his socialization channel? He can drive a taxi, work as a ride-hailing driver, or deliver food. No matter which way, as long as it keeps him connected to society, it is already critically important. A man does not necessarily have to make a fortune, but he must not completely lose his connection with society. Otherwise, his family life will sooner or later face a crisis.
昨天晚上跟我一个哥们儿喝酒，他是2个月前刚被京东裁员。
Last night, I had a drink with a buddy and talked about his recent situation. He was laid off by JD.com 2 months ago at the age of 30, right in the prime of his career. At the time, he wasn't too worried, as he believed he was still young and had years of experience working at a major company as a key employee. Even though he knew the current job market wasn't great, he was still confident that he would be able to land a decent job quickly. However, 2 months have passed, and he has applied to almost every company he could. Initially, he only targeted big corporations, but later, he even tried applying to small and medium-sized enterprises. Yet, the number of interview invitations he received was very few. What hit him the hardest wasn't the cold response from the job market, but rather the change in his wife's attitude. At first, he was able to adjust his mindset, accept reality, and plan to take a short break before gradually searching for a new job. But as time went on, he gradually realized that the atmosphere at home was becoming tense. His wife is still employed, while he took on the responsibility of cooking at home, making sure dinner was ready before she got back. However, when she returned home from work, instead of appreciating his efforts, she often showed dissatisfaction with the cleanliness of the house, questioning why, as a man who was at home all day without a job, he couldn't at least keep the place tidy. Basically, every couple of days, she would find an excuse to pick a fight and scold him. It's not that he was unwilling to do housework or that he was lazy. It's just that being unemployed for a long time and failing in his job search had gradually pushed him into a mental slump. The once confident version of himself was now forced to face the helplessness of reality. Especially when he realized that he couldn't change his situation anytime soon and had no certainty about when he would find his next job, the anxiety and despair became overwhelming. He admitted that while the financial pressure from unemployment was already heavy, what saddened him the most was the shift in his family dynamics, the coldness and criticism from his wife. This situation is very real and very sad. Perhaps, aside from the financial burden, this is the greatest sorrow of being laid off. So, I really hope that if your partner ever gets laid off or loses their job, you can show them more understanding and patience. Because at this moment, they might be feeling even more anxious inside.
只要你一旦失业，或者是你现在没了工作，
All men must recognize a harsh reality. Once you lose your job or temporarily find yourself unemployed, you are highly likely to face the risk of a broken marriage. The probability of divorce is extremely high, with almost no exceptions. This reveals a profound issue. When you lose your source of income and your ability to make money, the first person who may start looking down on you, or even consider leaving you, is most likely your wife.
If a man has no job and no source of income, then no matter how good his character is, his value in the eyes of a woman will still be greatly diminished. Even if he takes care of all the household chores, manages the family with meticulous attention, and is completely obedient to his wife, if he lacks the ability to earn money independently, deep down, his wife will still look down on him to some extent, even feeling that he is not worthy of respect. Therefore, a man cannot rely solely on emotions to sustain his life. Financial independence is the most fundamental way to survive. No matter the era, money has always been the cornerstone of a man's dignity and status. You must remember, the most powerful antidote in this world is never whether someone loves you, but whether you have the ability to take control of your own life. Brothers, making money and valuing yourself will always be crucial. The process of earning money may be difficult, even exhausting, but the sense of security and dignity it brings is something no relationship can replace. Whether others love you or not is irrelevant. What truly matters is having a healthy body and enough wealth in your hands. Only then can you have control over your own life and live with confidence and peace of mind. As a man, you should have the ambition to achieve something for yourself. No matter how lost the road ahead may seem, as long as you persevere, you will eventually break through the fog and see the sunshine that belongs to you. Brothers, pull yourselves together and keep fighting. Rise higher, see further. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support is very important to us. We will continue to bring you even better content. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.